Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Inspire Show. I'm Leanne Bridges. I'm work-life coach, helping people to get into their purpose, their vision, and really manifest that into their life. And the Inspire Show is part of the Awakening Village, and it's really a community designed to help people, change leaders in particular, who are really helping to transform the workplace for the better. And they know that there's a better way to do work, one that's more conscious, one that's more holistic. And not only that, it's a better way, but it also improves the bottom line and the long-term viability of any organization, small, medium, or large, and the individuals within that. So we're going to get started. Just before I introduce Christina, our guest today, I just wanted to mention what's coming up in the Awakening Village. And some of you may have listened in on the webinar that we did about a couple of weeks ago. It's available free on the Designing Transformation website. And it's really to identify some of the things that might be holding you back from living the life and the work and the career or leadership that you really want to live, and some of the steps in order to get there. So check that out. It's full of information and strategies to help you really live the job and career of your dreams. And then I'm also co-facilitating a workshop in November here in the Montreal area with Sharon Cohen, and it's about clearing the way for an extraordinary 2019. So whether it's your health, your work, relationships, or something you want to clear and better in the new year, the time is now to make those changes so that we can get off of running in January. So check that out. It's really affordable, only $69. That includes a lunch, full day workshop with 2 facilitators, and also there's donation that goes to the West Island Cancer Wellness Center as well. So now, with no further ado, I want to introduce my excellent, amazing, and beautiful guest today, Christina della Rocca. And so I'm going to just give you, as you can read a little bit about her here, I'm just going to give you a very brief introduction and allow her to introduce herself. I've been working with Christina for a couple of years, got to know her quite well in the work that she does. And how I would describe it is she's very much a strategic wellness specialist. She looks at the holistic approach. She takes a holistic approach to an organization, looking at helping them create their vision, and then strategies to help engage all elements of the organization, and then provides a whole range of products from mindfulness to diet and wellness to fitness, whatever the organization needs customized to their requirements, their budget, their timeline, whatever that is. So if it's small, medium, or large company. So she really, she's very hands-on, but she also works with a team of individuals. And she's all about finding what's the peak wellness for the individual, for the team, and for the organization, and looking at customizing programs for them. So we're going to talk a little bit about what workplace wellness is, what's happening today, what are some of the challenges, and talk about her career and how she got here. So I'm going to just, let me just do this for a second, bring you back on screen. There you go.
A long time.
Welcome, Christina. There you go. So anybody that has questions as they come along, please feel free to ask questions on the chat, and then we'll have some time later on as well. And as people are coming into, I'm just going to bring them on, so I'm sorry to interrupt there. But Christina, welcome so much. So great to have you here.
Great to be speaking with you. You're such an inspiration well, first of all, for me over the last couple of years since we met that place we were presenting was an open space with Corey Robertson, such fabulous work. And I'm excited. Thank you for that nice introduction.
Oh, that's great. So just tell us a little bit about, first of all, what is workplace wellness? For those of us who maybe are not familiar, we talked before we came online here about how there's so many toxic environments at work. And a lot of my clients that come to me are in have been in a toxic environment or burnout and that type of thing. So can you explain a little bit about workplace wellness and what that is?
So I guess globally, workplace wellness is about, bringing, some programs and some services into the companies that are really going to help the people, achieve a better level of, well-being, being able to, work on their health and wellness, but within the organization or within their company or their workspace, place, wherever it is, as opposed to having to go out, in the outside really and seek, let's say, fitness or nutrition counseling or things like that on the outside. So there's
and why would an organization want to invest time, money, and even allow their employees to take part in this maybe during the workday?
Well, you know what? There's increasingly people are busier and busier, and companies have have to get through the first minute's jitters and then I'll be good.
No worries.
So, organizations face a lot of issues. So, some of the big issues are, of course, with absenteeism, turnover in the office, burnout, sick leave, costs associated with, poor health, and, poorly managed stress. And so it's really helpful when we can, from an organization's point of view, a company's point of view, say, hey, we care about you, the employees, you're important to us because, without you, you're not going to have a viable business and a successful business. And so in turn, we care. We're going to offer you some possibilities to, have some of these services, here for you and encourage you and see what you need in terms of helping you be in a better place.
Well, I imagine that the absenteeism, the sickness, the turnover must be super costly for organizations. And I imagine there's more and more research that's showing to be able to prevent that. And the investment in preventing is a huge return on investment.
Yeah, well, prevention, of course, is key for, health, for a person. So it's people, it's individuals who are making up the companies. And yes, so absenteeism is very quantifiable. Who's there, who's not there. And it's a huge cost for organizations. And what we're also now seeing, and a lot of the focus has been on absenteeism, which is very easy to quantify. But now, a lot of more research is going into the effects of presenteeism. So have you ever heard of presenteeism? I touched on it before.
No, this you just mentioned this offline, and I think this is really cool. It's like being present at work, right?
Right. So you're at work, but yet you're not present. So maybe you have a child who's sick at home, and now you're worried, or you're sick yourself or on the verge of a burnout, but you're still coming to work, and you're still earning a salary, and you still have to output quality work, and maybe you're not able to do that. And so the costs to an organization for absenteeism are huge, but also for presenteeism. And because of that, when we bring, some really good programs into the workplace, like health coaching, teaching people how to eat better, teaching people how to move, helping people with their emotional state, bringing more mindfulness into their daily activities, that really helps, having maybe just even like a coach or a health coach or a psychologist or somebody to talk to yeah.
That's great. And it's a bit of it's been, the idea of workplace wellness has been around for a while, but do you feel that there's a trend to really embrace it a lot more? Organizations are learning to do that more and more, or are you finding they're still very slow?
No, I do. I think a lot, especially with all of that was happening in the U.S., kind of like the trends kind of start there, and Obamacare and all of that. We saw, a lot more openness. The workforce is changing. Right. And so people are busy, and there's all this flex time, and the millennials are completely changing the way organizations, are going to have to, set up the workspace. And, it's going to become, the trend is towards, looking for the word, but an employee, what do they call that?
Centered, kind of employee-centered.
Right. So there's going to be much more option, and so it's going to be much more difficult for companies to capture and retain, quality employees or candidates. And so once people achieve a certain level of income that's comfortable for them, and they want other things, and that new generation wants a lot of transparency. They want They're centered on the environment, so public transit, being able to get to and from work, green spaces, healthier options, like cafeterias are changing. They're going to have healthy stuff in the vending machine, not just, especially for people who are working later. The millennials might leave for a few hours during the day, but they'll come back and work till midnight. So it's a really changing demographic like that.
It's neat. I spent some time at Google about 10 years ago, last 8 to 10 years, and saw some of the things that they're doing, which is really cutting edge. You talk about vending machines. They offer free healthy food to their employees, but anything that's of high fat, calorie, low nutritional value, you have to pay for.
Right.
And their first, I think it was within the first 5 or 10 people that started the company was a chef. Like that sentence.
Wow.
I know when our chef.
That's really fun.
And so they believed that anyone should be within, I think it was 100 meters from healthy food so that they can sustain their body, and they also have yoga studios and nap pads or whatever, and all sorts of amazing things to help people to be much more healthy. But
disease prevention, or there's so many lifestyle oriented conditions that are so preventable with diet and exercise and living in a mindful way. And I'll tell you, I'm a fitness professional. I went through that when I was 27 years old. My business exploded. I was training for a fitness competition, and I knew all the principles, all the rules, all the things, and I still got caught up in that kind of stress bubble of doing too much, and have to really walk myself off the ledge and say, how do I balance my career with, I was a young 20-year-old with now, with also being healthy and knowing, and so I went through that, and I bring a lot of that now into the companies and the people that I work with, saying, if you don't find this balance, and so by offering tools and information and education and healthy options like Google's doing, then these are the things that are going to help people prevent, especially those lifestyle oriented conditions. And
So about your background, because you talked about how you started in the fitness realm. So how did you kind of move into, maybe talk about how you've kind of grown to a more holistic approach. So you have fitness, but you have whole care, naturopathy to mindfulness. There's lots of different elements to the work that you do. And that you
well, it's been 20 plus years. So, I'm always seeking out, and continuing education is really important. It's a very fast-paced, evolving industry. And yet the principles are really, the base principles are the same. I started out, I guess when I was 24, I was teaching classes. And, when I finished university, I was doing personal training. I opened a fitness appraisal center, and I was doing, sports nutrition and things like that. But, I'm the daughter of immigrant parents, and my father was like, graduating university, what are you doing? Not that there's anything wrong with any of that, but in their eyes, I was supposed to be a banker and having a much different life. Now I was going to work in a baseball cap and, sweatpants or sweat leggings. And anyway, but as I was going through the first years of my career there, and I opened this center and things were evolving pretty fast, I realized there was something missing. There were pieces missing. So I could teach people how to eat to lose weight. It was kind of vanity, focused in those years, back in the early 90s or mid 90s. And I realized, there's so much missing. There's a whole component missing. And then I got sick in my mid-20s. I developed a lifestyle condition, this ulcer, and I was really lucky. I won't go through the whole story. It's long. But I managed to heal naturally. And I went through the coaching process with a health coach myself. And I thought, this is amazing. These are the pieces that are missing. It's whole body health. Yeah, we want to look good and we want to be fit and have lots of energy, but we also need to do that from the inside out and, being able to sustain long-term health. And so that's how I really came into a more holistic way of
Now I'm curious, it's amazing that the transition you've gone through. Do you think that that's reflected in companies as well, where they might have started with having some sort of fitness room or something like that, and now they're broadening to whole wellness? Maybe at least the modern ones, the more advanced kind of companies that are embracing corporate wellness?
You mean bringing in a more holistic approach, for instance?
Yeah, instead of just fitness, like having a fitness room.
Yeah, at the beginning, corporate wellness is really based on physical fitness classes, smoking cessation.
Right.
The trends are really things are really, for a more interesting workplace. So
Environmental structure.
yeah, the structure is really changing. And also, I think that people really want to bring in more personalized experiences. Companies now, or the employees anyways, are demanding that. They need some one-on-one help. They need some guidance and some coaching. And so we really need to develop a much bigger vision to what it is that a company really needs. I mean, do they need fitness classes? Yes. And if you have the space, fantastic. And do we need to learn about nutrition? We do. And that's an important component. And for instance, I have, big tax companies who, want us to come in and do chair massage during the peak
Tax season.
Yeah, tax season, and is that important? 100%. But, you put a chair massage service in another company and it's just not going to work. And so now you've kind of spent that money. And so really, one of the big parts of the work that I do and is now and has evolved over these 20 plus years in corporate wellness is really helping a company develop that vision of what it is they really, really need. And then plug and play the services that are going to be most effective. Because, at the end of the day, if you're going to bring in a workplace wellness program and people might leave at lunch to do a class, maybe you're the company's footing the entire bill for the program. Maybe it's a co-share possibility. Like, why are you doing it? What is the goal and what are you trying to achieve? And so putting all the pieces in place so that you achieve that goal and it's not just sort of playing target practice with, we'll do chair massage. That's kind of cool. Oh, I read this article and, that.
I think that this is, I love this. This is, I think, a really core piece because I remember recently going into one of my clients' offices and it was a tech firm and she showed me the wellness room and it was locked. And
Awesome.
it was like no integration, no program, no vision of wellness. Somebody probably said, I'm just assuming, if you have a wellness room or something, it'll improve profitability. So put it in. It's like, I think people are hearing, if I improve wellness, I'll improve profit. But there's no vision of how that works. It's like trying to build a home without any kind of blueprint, right? It's like we're going on a trip without any plan. So this piece of vision, I would imagine, is really key, and customizing it to the organization, their needs, the individual needs is key. Can you tell us a little bit about how you do that? I imagine you talk with people first and understand their assessment.
Yeah, so, if I kind of just take a foot back, so I used to, company A called and said, hey, we're interested in bringing wellness into the company. Okay, great. And so I'd sit down and I'd ask a bunch of questions and they'd give me a bunch of answers and then they'd say, okay, this is what we're interested in. And I'd say, okay, but I recommend this. And then, okay, make us a proposal. It was a very kind of quick thing. And, over time, I had more questions in that initial meeting, and sometimes I'd ask other questions, and then we launched a program. And then over time, I started to realize, you know what, this would have been better. Or, oh, wow, the middle management in this company's not into it yet. The upper management's really progressive and, they're, excited. They even come to classes, for example. And of course, the employee body is, into it. But now the middle manager's unhappy when, Mary's leaving her desk to go to the yoga class because he has, some things to get out. And of course we understand, Mary's boss, but, then where's the disconnect there? And so I'm actually really excited. I've done lots of work now with you, of course, Leanne, over these last 2 years to really kind of solidify where I am and where my focus needs to be. And one of the big things that's come out of that work is developing really this new product, which is developing the corporate wellness vision. And that's sort of what I recommend as the first part in a wellness program. And so now to answer your question, what do we do? we meet with the people, we meet with the top tier, what is it that you're looking for? What are the, and HR, of course, what are the issues? So is it absenteeism? Is it a lack of engagement? Is it disgruntled employees because of, X, Y, and Z? Is it this presenteeism? People are here, but they're not engaged. What's happening? So what are the pain points for the organization? What's driving costs? And then we meet with the employees also, and we find out, hey, what is it that you want, right? And we do that through surveys. We also do that through, a little round group discussion, and the same with, with the management. And we try to marry the needs, but also the wants of the organization and the employees. And then, of course, I can, in the background, after all, kind of working with so many organizations, hear what really the needs are also, and we try to marry those two and, then create this vision that's in line also with the corporate culture, right? Mm. So, for instance, if the culture is, work at your desk through lunch, we're not putting a yoga program in at lunchtime, mm-hmm. right? So maybe we're going to do it in the morning or late at night, or we're going to, create a partnership with a different organization. So there's so many different, ways to
do it. Yeah. And so once you get the vision, then you do the program, or is there some way? I imagine sometimes it's hard to get people on board. You mentioned that sometimes senior management, but the middle management's not there, and the employees are like already. But so what do you do about that?
Well, so that's the probably one of the most challenging parts of the work, and we really have to kind of explain to them and educate them about, what's going to be in it for them and what's going to be the benefit for them long term. And sometimes with an organization, I'll actually work with that group before we even launch a program within the company wide. And so that's kind of fun, and they get to sort of see, touch, taste, feel what it's going to be, and take it from there. And sometimes it's a matter also of the organization kind of maybe shifting a little bit in what its cultural views are. Like, they just didn't think about it really, that it was going to be so important, this, vision, this workplace wellness, and is it really going to be effective, and how is it going to be effective? And okay, let's get everybody on board and make.
So you're actually helping to shift some of the culture as well, which sounds really great, because there obviously in any culture in an organization, there's a wellness and holistic aspect to it, right?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. So what kind of programs then do you bring in?
Well, if we've done this whole piece really well, this vision piece, and the company was on board with that, after that, what we need to do is, of course, we need to get the people motivated to participate, right? So, any program's great, but if nobody comes, then, that's no fun. So, so we do assessments. In some companies, we work alongside a medical team, and we do biometrics. If not, then we do, health and fitness assessments. So we kind of tell people, here's where you are today. This is where, after the consult, we're talking a little bit from where they were, right? Some, and now they're still not doing anything. Well, here's where you're going to be in another decade. So let's kind of bridge this gap and get things happening. And so now people have facts and figures, and they have numbers, and, a lot of people like that. Not at the beginning. They never like to have their body fat pinched or know how many push-ups.
No, I don't.
But 3 months later, the calipers, but 3 months later, how fun, right? And then you see the progress that you've made, and wow, you feel really good about yourself. So that's part of it. And then really finding out what it is that they want. And with this, because this can be a small piece, we really hear now what the people are needing and what they're wanting, and we can really also adapt what our program offerings are going to be based on all this information obtained during these, wellness and health and fitness assessments. And then, of course, there's launch presentations, and maybe we can bring in a health fair and really kind of get everybody excited to get on board and participating. But when we've done all this work here,
Go ahead. Yeah, I'll ask you the question.
Yeah, I see questions coming in on the chat.
Yeah.
When we do this proper vision, and we get all this information from the assessments, now we're targeting programs specifically to this group, because the demographic could be different. Is it an older, demographic, so, and they're really into I don't know, they may be more into, sort of, the older fashioned, fitness classes, more high energy versus maybe, the newer demographics more into yoga. I'm just throwing, generalizations up. But if I offer yoga and people want, a boot camp, well, that's not going to work, right? So we're really, I keep bringing up the fitness aspect, but just because it's such a big part of really corporate wellness. And
there would be other parts too, right? Like, so you might provide nutrition, health, wellness, diet.
Yeah. So the four areas are wellness, wisdom. And so here we're bringing coaching programs and we're teaching people how to eat and how to be more mindful. And, maybe there's a weight management program, a stress management program, could be one-on-one consultation. So we're really teaching and educating people and supporting them as they make the changes, because it's very easy. We kind of all have a vague idea of what we should do to be healthier, and prevent disease. But, it's the whole other ballgame doing it. And so support and continuity is great. Also, we have the mindfulness component. So that's really huge now in organizations, as well as individuals, so, being more mindful about what we're doing, maybe meditation or just slowing down maybe in the middle of the day, and can't take a nap at work. So these are ways to kind of take things down a notch.
Google lets you take a nap at work, so maybe you can invest in those pods and sell those too.
I'll tell you, I gave a very high-powered presentation, my first presentation, 20 years ago. And I said, if you want to operate, it was to a group of brokers, and if you want to operate like an adrenaline junkie the entire day, you could, and not suffer any health risks, consequences, if you take a 10 to 45-minute nap in the middle of your day. So the boss was like, no, close your eyes,
And if it's a 45-minute nap, probably a 15-minute meditation would almost be equivalent. A good meditation can take that.
It's just quieting the mind and breathing, And
what else? So you talked about the wellness, nutrition, mindfulness. Is there anything else?
And then there's, of course, body work and therapy. So we touched on that before. So maybe a massage therapy or bringing an athletic therapy program into the company. Again, depending, for more of a manufacturing company, maybe back issues are a problem. And so then we want to bring in some therapies also. And then events, like hosting events and wellness fairs and, executive retreats or, all kinds of different.
So you have a large network of kind of independent people that work with you, and that's cool. And so the possibility is there's other areas you might want to bring in, like maybe information about conscious parenting or healthy cooking classes or something like that. No,
absolutely, yeah. And that's really great, and it's becoming more and like there's becoming numerous other areas to be able to offer, and it's just about, again, there's your stage 1, stage 2, and then what are we going to do? Really, how can we how can we make Yes.
I kind of see you a bit like a quarterback or like a contractor, that help with the vision and the blueprint, and then bring people to. Of course, you're there, and you can be doing the work directly, but you can also bring people to. So anybody that's listening now or in the future that have something that they would like to bring to corporate, maybe they can contact you, and might be interesting fit that you could bring that person in, and who knows, they might be able to open doors for you as well, right?
Yes, absolutely. And I think, the world is evolving to really, and that's another trend in wellness is, I always forget the word,
collaborating, co-creating.
Collective well-being, so when a group is doing well, of course each piece within that group is doing well, and we can have a lot more employee engagement. If you're having trouble at home, it's pretty difficult to now want to be engaging in whatever the dynamics of the company, and so people become more secluded. And I actually really like that. It's one of the most exciting parts about my work in corporate wellness, because I also have a clinic in the Windsor building in the West Island. And when I was a fitness trainer, I had, a studio, and, people were looking for me. So, I didn't really do a lot of advertising. So, things come through word of mouth. But, the fitness junkies and the nutrition junkies, they're coming and they look for you. But, sometimes in organizations, people are busy. They're inundated in their, in their lives. They're leaving the office and they're going home to families, single parents, two-parent working. And so you're really able to reach and touch those people and have like an impact on their lives. And so, yeah.
I love that. And I love collective well-being. I mean, that's such a great buzz to words.
Isn't that a great word? Yeah.
Because it's true. Without the well-being of the individuals, the collective, whatever it is, it could be a not-for-profit, it could be a team of some sort, it could be an organization, small business, large business, whatever it is, it has to be you're only as good as the weakest link, right?
Right, because it's not just, physical well-being, there's financial well-being, so teaching people about, how to balance their money. But, there's the work you do with, finding purpose in your work and in your life. And maybe for some people, they're happy, they're an accountant and they're really happy doing accounting, but now it's been 20 or 30 years and it's a bit dry, but they're not going to have a whole big career change maybe. But maybe, they're going to discover that they also love to paint and or they can bring different aspects into their life to re-stimulate and reinvigorate. And and maybe he or she would go for a whole new career change. That's also a possibility. But
Yeah, no, I really love that. That idea of collective well-being too is very broad. And so as the quarterback, kind of the things that I've heard you say. Yeah, that's it. I think you might need to help my son's team there, playing as a team. They don't have collective well-being.
I'm tough. I used to make people leave the gym crying.
There you go. Well, it'd be interesting to see if you can get these 6', 16-year-olds. Right? But you might. So what are some of the things that I'm just going to feed back because I thought they're really important to hear. And I want to just talk a little bit about some of the things I've heard from Google as well years ago. But it's first what things the companies don't do really well, but they need to is create a vision, right? It's really identify that. Mm-hmm. And then understand then the individual goals within the collective, the people's goals. So then they might change that or adjust that vision of what they're trying to do, customize their approach, continue supporting and measuring. I thought that was really important because if you have a goal and you measure it, then you can see how it's performing. Mm-hmm. And to me, those are like the key things that I think would make it more successful or less successful. Is that pretty accurate?
Absolutely. Yeah. Even like in private practice, right? When I have somebody come in, I say, okay, so what are your goals, right? And we write them down in their timeline and as an important piece because, as people and organizations start to achieve a goal, they kind of forget, right? Oh, this was a problem. And but now it's fine. And we're very soon to forget that it was even a problem. Like funny as people like that.
Yeah.
We can come back and say, well, how are things going? Yeah, you know what? I don't know, you weren't sleeping well, but now you're sleeping better. But people have a habit of coming in and focusing on, the negative, which is normal. They're seeking help, right? So they're coming to see me in my office, they're paying me and they want help now with the next thing. And they're like, oh, everything's terrible. I don't know, what's going on now. Okay, well, why is it so terrible? Let's first start with what's good in you. Like what's been happening that's great.
What's been improving. I think that's so important because that's where you create from, okay, this is this improvement, and you get empowered with, I've made a change, but you're absolutely right. People, and when my clients are the same, they don't recognize how far they've come. And by showing them that, it's really key. One of the things that I learned also from Google, because they did a lot of research, they curated a lot of research on workplace wellness and workplace productivity. They kind of linked the two because they felt that most of their employees were engineers and stuff like that, and they needed to take a very practical way. And they said that research shows that we're only really truly productive for about 2 hours a day. Wow. People who work for 8 hours or 10 hours, our productivity, and it may be like 5 minutes here, 5 minutes, but real true in the flow productivity is only like 2 hours. So what their strategy was to create an environment that that allowed people to be in that space in the working office. So if you're interrupting to go to appointments, to go to yoga, to go and even get your dry cleaning, you're interrupting that flow. And so what they did is they created the whole like kind of city within their building.
Yeah.
So you can get your dry cleaning, you have daycare, you have yoga, you have all that. So, and you can leave at any time to do that, but you're still within the environment and come back. It's not as disruptive. And, they attract the best talent in the world. And that's how they do that. So it's really interesting that companies haven't quite understood this yet, that, someone's going to leave for an hour or two at lunch. If you can keep them and help them to make better, healthier choices, they're going to be much more productive. And as a result, contribute to the collective well-being better.
Yeah, and that's absolutely accurate. And that's really one of the big benefits to an organization for having your workplace wellness initiatives, the dry cleaning, healthy food on site. I've seen all kinds of things done. Some companies here in Montreal are already doing that. You'd be surprised to see. I was working with...
Yeah, tell me about that. So what do you say about Montreal or Quebec or Canada versus what you're seeing out there? And there's a couple of questions here I want to ask you. But what are you seeing? Are we ahead, behind, kind of on par with, I certainly don't think we're on par with California, but no, we might be
far behind California. Yes, but not everybody. And, things don't progress fast. It goes slowly. And like I said, so, let's say a company like, Technopark Montreal or Bombardier, they're really good. They're doing it really, really well. They've got full throttle programs, people who are engaged and working within those programs. And then like I still get the call, we want to put in a fitness program, or, hey, I heard you do lunch and learns. Can we, get you to quote on a series of lunch and learns for our organization? Or we want to put in a health challenge, a series of health challenges, for example. And so that's really good. But yeah, you really want to keep your employees engaged in the process, and it's exciting for them because there's also this cross-contamination. I don't think I'm answering your question, but this cross-contamination that people are talking, and it's exciting, and it's,
yeah. I like calling that cross-pollination versus contamination.
Pollination. Sorry, bad word. Yeah. You know what? I'm still recovering. Believe it or not.
I'm feeling sick, so I might be cross-contaminating.
Yeah. No, but like I even know a company that has you bring your car and they do your tires for you at work.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Think about, having all of your employees and they make it like it's very competitive, the price. So it's not like you're paying a major premium. It's actually cheaper and more less expensive, cost effective. And now you don't have to go for 2 hours and juggle with your spouse or a friend, so yeah.
That's really awesome. So but overall, you're finding kind of Montreal's, Canada's kind of on par with the rest of the world? No,
I would say that we're a little bit behind. We have like a lot of work to do still.
Okay.
You have some very progressive companies, and I think you have some companies also who are just still doing these sort of target practice cut and piece, which is still fantastic.
Better than nothing, but not just the beginning stages.
The intention is good. It's just not fully engaged.
Fully realized yet, yeah. So I just want to ask, Zena had a question here. So would you say you're sometimes the middleman? You really understand what the need is between the employee and management. Yes. So that's kind of cool. You have that middle woman's place, right, for you?
I do, 12 years ago, I had a big contract, and for many, many years. And I still see a lot of the employees from this particular organization, individually. But at the time, I was really able to, some organizations, they do it in-house, their wellness program. And that doesn't always work well because, the employees are afraid to share. They're afraid it might impact them in a negative way. But now you have somebody from the outside coming in and kind of scope it out. Is this, are they trustworthy? And, we're able to really take the information in private, consult or in group, small group settings, and, relay this information back to the company and say, hey, like, these are some of the major issues you're facing here. Here's the information, without, of course, naming names and being very discreet in all of that. And so that's a huge benefit. And
that's great.
Yeah.
To be kind of that outside voice that people can kind of feel comfortable to talk to. That's great.
Yeah.
And that kind of leads to another question that Doris had here is, how do you implement your services if there aren't facilities or I guess maybe a yoga room or whatever on the premises in the company?
Well, I have to tell you that I am very creative. I
Okay,
go
yeah,
in
tell us,
there,
give us an
yeah,
example.
I've moved furniture myself, over the years. We kind of get in there and we say, okay, so well, first of all, we figure out what it is that we want to do and if that's in fact a need. And I'm pretty good at, finding a location. Sometimes, it's a boardroom, we move the tables. Sometimes it's the lunchroom, and what we find little ways, sometimes you can only do a small group at a time, no problem. We have 4 classes in a row instead of one big class, and so I'm pretty creative at finding a way. When there's really not a way, then we find possibilities within the community, right? So I have a lot of colleagues who have small training facilities, and so I kind of look, geographically, where's the company located? Okay, what's not too far? Or you know what? Everybody can go outside and walk, right? And we can do an outdoor program. The possibilities are really endless. There's really no excuse for not being able to implement something that will bring the employee, peak wellness and for who they are. And then that, of course, is going to trickle down. And, employees who are thriving is an organization that thrives. And so, that's...
Yeah, and a question I have is, do you find there's a bias in terms of your people that get engaged? Is it more women or is it equally men and women in your programs?
That's actually a really fun question. So, earlier in my career was, I think 95% female based. And then towards the middle, it really took a big, sort of spin into a male, clientele. And now it's really quite balanced. In companies, I actually have a contract coming up real soon in a company where the demographic is 80% men. So I'm pretty excited to kind of, I have to kind of alter things a little bit. But I would say, yes, it's certainly a 60-40, 70-30 for, women engaging more in the programs. And so that needs to change. We're not offering the right kind of stuff for men if that's the situation that's happening.
Mm-hmm. That's, a lot of my clientele and people who'll be listening are women. And one of the reasons I was asking that is because they often are in a family situation where their husband is very stressed at work.
Yeah.
And they're not, they're kind of feeling at odds. They may have workshops and they're engaged in circles and groups and whatever that are helping them. But they're challenged with their husbands and trying to get them. And some of their husbands are in leadership positions too that may be able to kind of bring in some of these programs as well. What would you say to those women? What recommendation would you have for them besides calling you?
In terms of for them to how to cope better with their husbands being in such...
Yeah, and is there anything they can do to kind of encourage I don't know if their place of work has work wellness programs or whatever, but because I hear this all the time, from different people, and women have their ways of connecting with other women in circles and helping them de-stress, helping them deal with, challenging times and changes in their health. But men are kind of isolated, and especially leaders in organizations are feeling quite isolated. And these are husbands of many people that I know, many of my clients and friends.
So men are different. They respond to a different set of a different set of triggers and parameters or ideas. I find that assessments are really great for men. They really understand that. Many companies, very easy to sell them on, let's start with an assessment. Yes, good idea, right? Because, yeah, that's great. And so men really tend to get engaged at that level. And once you kind of have them, in that they start to talk and, and can definitely be open to saying, what I need, here are some of the issues that I'm facing, and it comes about slowly again with the trust, because there is a stigma, of course, associated with men seeking help. It's changing, which is wonderful, and men are changing, so they're in terms of that. But when you start with assessments with men, that really works really well. coming in through a body work angle also works really, really well. They respond to physicality, to strength.
So like, what does that mean, body work in that
maybe
context?
it could be like chair massage, for example, or maybe, so that really has a good, they like events, so sporting, so more group oriented events like that. What would I say to the women? Well, if they would undertake, going for an assessment and finding out, hey, where's your level of health and fitness? And, maybe there's things that they want to achieve.
I wonder also if some of these, and I'm not specifically these husbands, but just in general, if you're not a most senior top of a company, but you're middle, can you not also bring in a workplace wellness program just for your team? And then, if you brought that in, it would not only help yourself, help your team, and then maybe the higher ups would look at it and say, hey, something's going on with that team down there. They're performing really well. They're happier. They're healthier. It's absenteeism. So does it always have to start at the top, or could this be a solution for some people out there?
I've seen that often, sometimes an organization will have me come in and speak. And that's what they're offering as a tool, as a benefit, a perk. And, a team, it's exactly as happened to me several times where somebody said, oh, I'd like to now offer something to my team. And we'll come in and, so long as the company is willing to provide the space and the employees. Yes, definitely. Also, I've seen a lot of retreats done with men where we have fun in terms of, we take them out, right? So they have all their business meetings and then we teach them how to eat when they travel. Men are busy, they're stressed. They need practical, easy, simple, everybody, men and women need practical, easy, simple to implement tools. People are confused. Nobody knows what to do. Everybody knows they need to be doing something better. And, just starting with one thing at a time. But yes, absolutely. You could start with
that. Sounds like a great idea. What to eat while you're traveling and how to eat healthy and because that's I imagine a big challenge for a lot of executives and people. Is there any other trends in workplace wellness that we haven't talked about that you wanted to bring?
Well, the keeping things simple thing, I think that's a big trend. Of course, virtual platforms are very trendy now. Being able to track things and log things. And I think that's going to continue, and there's going to be a lot of different apps. And
so like Fitbit, that kind of thing, the 10,000 steps and stuff.
Tracking biometrics and all of that. And I think that, if you ask me, what I see coming is outfits like this, these virtual platforms are going to be merging with, for instance, smaller companies like mine who offer a much more personalized, niche, hands-on service. And being able to bring both of these, solutions and options into the workplace. And
so when you say a virtual platform, are you thinking like maybe a Zoom? You might do a lunch and learn Zoom across a company that might be in different locations, and then you'd have people locally do mindfulness or fitness or something like that. Is that what you mean?
For example, yeah. So we would do some hands-on work and some, maybe email-based or interface-based.
Or video conferencing or anything like that.
Conferencing-based solutions. I do already some video conferencing-based solutions for clients, because if I work for a company and they have a satellite in, Houston or wherever it is, then I, would interact with, the employee like this. And this is like a great engagement piece, as opposed to on the telephone, years ago, wasn't really as... but also, being able to track, like people log in and they track that they did this and they did that and they ate this and they ate that, much more, this is easy for even, a company like myself, but really tracking all of those pieces and like hardcore data. I think that we're going to see some interesting tools coming out.
That's awesome. But still the hands-on is never going to go. So one of the last questions I just wanted before we close up is a lot of my clients are solo entrepreneurs, so they don't have a big staff or whatever. Is there anything you can talk to them about workplace wellness? Because it's them, they're the workplace, they're the environment. Is there any work that you do to help them? Is it one-on-one, private? What do you do to help?
So that's also a big part of my work. So the fourth feature, so we went through 1, 2, and 3. 1 being, of course, creating this vision. 2 being assessing and getting everybody motivated to participate. 3 being the programs and the services, so actually getting down to the nitty-gritty and action and doing. And the fourth piece is private wellness. And so this is, for a smaller company. I do this when there's 1, 2, 3, like a small group of people, one-on-one coaching. It could also equally be for the executive in a company who just needs to get out of the office, or it doesn't have to be the executive, anybody really in the employee body who, there's always that demographic of people who prefer to go out into, and then to have the service inside. There'll always be that percentage. And so I have a clinic in the West Island in the Windsor building, and me and a few colleagues, we operate out of there. And so they can get all of that consulting based education and things, just not in the group format. But then we try to find
like entrepreneurs you tend to need it as much or more than people in workplace because they're wearing so many hats and in a stressful environment, or do you find it just pretty much?
I think everybody needs it. Everybody really, really needs it. I think that what differentiates the executive is that sometimes there can be some embarrassment surrounding it. So when they have their own kind of person, or really, people come to me, really at all levels, and they say, you know what, this is my life. It's not going to change. Like I can't get, I've got 4 kids, or I've got 3 kids, and I'm married, and I travel, or my husband travels, or we both travel, or whatever it is. My parents aren't doing well, and whatever things that are making their life crazy. I can't get rid of everything. How am I going to now balance all this for the next, 5 or 10 years, so, yeah. And then they need tools, and they need support, and they need guidance. And some people need it every week. And some people, so we get them going for the first few months, and then after that, they're good. And, they come back and we do check-ins. And so, yes, I think everybody needs it. And, yes.
That's awesome.
Yes.
So I'm going to be turning off the recording soon, but I just want to ask for people who first of all, I want to mention also that you and I are going to be involved with Corey Robertson's summit that she's doing a retreat in, I think it's January 23rd and 24th, and it's all around improving engagement. She calls future-proofing leadership. Meaning, there is this wisdom gap, there is wellness gap. There's so many challenges for employers today and leaders, and so she's bringing together experts in the field, and so we are honored and privileged to be part of that. So you'll kind of check that out. We're going to be promoting some of that in the upcoming months. But also for people who, we talked about a lot of different people who might want to contact you. So people who might want workplace wellness in there and to talk to you a little bit. Maybe people who are entrepreneurs. Maybe people who have some services that may be collaborative with you that may want to get in touch with, or people who may want to send their husbands to you so that they get involved and bring workplace wellness into their organizations. What's the best way to contact you?
Well, you can call me, 514-505-1869. That's my office number. You can also, go visit my website. Now, just as a little, this interview came a little bit before the launch of my new company. I've actually been, working on that launch, and it's going to be coming very soon. My new website, which is it's sort of like up, but it's not really complete. It's www.PeakSante.com. So there's a sneak preview. That's my new company name.
PeakSante.com, right? So they can get you there. They can get you on the phone. Yeah, and I'll put the links below as well. And do you have anything else you want to share before we finish off? And we're going to close off, and then people that are online here can ask you questions directly.
Oh, sure. Yeah, you know what, I think I just, really what inspires me is really helping people achieve their own individual level of peak wellness. And, cookie cutter programs and grabbing a book off the shelf at Chapters, it's great, and you should read and you should be educated and know what's happening out there. But really, wellness is an individual thing, and what works for one person doesn't necessarily work for the other. And the same is true of organizations. So because, your buddy is, running a wellness program program and they're doing A, B, and C in this company, it doesn't mean that that's going to be the right fit for your employees and maybe for the culture that your organization is promoting. So wellness and well-being it's individualized. It's really about you. Some of the pieces are the same for everybody, of course, but ultimately the way of getting there and really should be specific to you. So I think that that's really important. And be open and be, to new things and to the process of the change. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you, Christina. And for those of you who want to stay on and ask questions, please just stay on for a couple more minutes. And I just want to thank anyone who's listening now or in the future thank you so much. And we really appreciate you being involved with the Inspire Show. And as we're waving goodbye and listen in, it's the third Wednesday of the month at noon. Bring your coffee, bring your lunch, come join us, listen to change leaders who are really helping to transform the workplace. Until next time, thank you so much. Namaste.
Thank you.